Welcome back to Banging the Can, the Houston sports podcast that does not apologize for championship rings and tings. I am your host, Ross Bolen, and I hope you all had a wonderful Thanksgiving. Let's start with some good news today, some Astros news before I once again shred the Texans as is tradition. The Astros, currently operating without a general manager, no GM, reached a deal with first baseman José Abreu, former Chicago White Sox standout, 2020 AL MVP, the American League MVP in 2020. To a 3-year deal for a reported $58 million. Abreu was in the MLB's top 8 in batting average at 304 and 4th overall in hits with 183. Now, my first thought was obviously, oh shit, Yuli Gurriel is out. But Jim Crane has stated he's still in contact with Yuli's agent and trying to make something work, which is frankly a little bit weird considering the Abreu signing, and feels like he's just saying that like almost out of respect for Yuli or to keep fans of Yuli from freaking out or whatever. But let's talk about Yuli Gurriel for a moment. La Piña played 801 games with Houston across the last 7 seasons. He won a batting title in 2021, and even during a relatively shitty 2022 for him personally, remained a consistent postseason performer. He bounced back in October with a .347 batting average in 49 playoff at-bats. Everyone who watched the postseason is aware that Yuli was sort of a point of concern going in, and then he proved to be playoff Yuli this year. He was incredible. He was great, as we would have wanted him to be in the regular season, but showed up when it counted and racked up 21 hits and 8 RBIs during the Astros' 2017 championship run as well. His 87 postseason hits are the second most in franchise history, behind guess who? That's right, Jose Altuve. Goes without saying, Yuli is an Astros legend who will be missed if he does indeed end up going elsewhere. But let's not sit here and fail to admit that this is once again an upgrade for the squad. This is what the Astros do in the offseason. They get even better. It's the scariest thing about the franchise, right? So let's talk about his potential replacement. The guy that we know is definitely going to start over him, even if he does end up signing again with Houston, Jose Abreu. His stats may have taken a dip in 2022 as his 15 home runs were a career low for a single season, but he had a .378 on-base percentage, and his 133 OPS plus ranked number 19 among American League hitters. So it's not exactly like the dude was trash, okay? When you consider the Crawford boxes and the fact that he is right-handed and the former American League MVP, he could be a major impact in our lineup in 2023, where the Stros look to become the first back-to-back champion since the 1999-2000 Yankees. And, rather ironically, our title defense begins March 30th against Jose Abreu's former team, the Chicago White Sox. Very stoked about the Jose Abreu signing. It seems like, to be honest with you, it's gotten a little bit less love than I would have expected. But again, at this point, we are such a spoiled fan base, Astros fans, that I feel like the only thing that gets people excited is October. But this is a really big deal. This is huge. Look, Yuli, he's a little bit older, right? Like we just said, he had a rough regular season last year. Now, while he is an Astros legend and absolutely zero disrespect will be allowed toward him, this is nice. This is good. This is very, very good to see. That we attracted Jose Abreu, that we got him locked in for a few years. He won the MVP of the American League 2 seasons ago. That's crazy. Now we've got that dude at first base. Also, the Astros have re-signed Rafael Montero, agreeing to a 3-year, $34.5 million deal. It says he'll earn $11.5 million in all 3 years per Chandler Rome of the Houston Chronicle. Probably my favorite Houston sports reporter at this point, Chandler. Shouts to him. And Montero, he's 32 years old. He threw 68 in the third innings out of Houston's pen last season, in addition to 6 innings thrown late last year after coming over from the Mariners. He posted a 2.18 ERA in that time with a 26.8% strikeout rate and an 8.6% walk rate. All good things, right? So Montero is back as a reliever. he wasn't a must-have for me personally, based on his up and down career from the Rangers to the Mariners to Houston. But hey, the more arms, the better, baby. And our bullpen was an undeniably huge piece of us winning this most recent World Series championship. I would argue that Montero was perhaps, at least on the postseason roster, the guy I was least excited to see come out. That may be a little unfair. It's just that we have so much talent in the bullpen that he was sort of near the bottom of the barrel for me. But again, at this point, with everything that we've seen over the past 5-6 seasons, if you're questioning Jim Crane's moves, to me, you're an idiot. Just let the man cook, right? So we're adding bats. We're keeping our pitching, minus Verlander, who is almost definitely gone, in my opinion. We're doing the things we need to do, even without a GM, which is wild, but very cool to see. Here's a quote from Jim Crane at the press conference for the José Abreu signing. He says, "We're active. We'll stay active in the market. Certainly, Yuli is in the mix. As I mentioned before, Verlander is in the mix. We're looking at other options, so we're not finished. We like our team. Pitching is strong. This adds another bat, but we think we can improve a little bit more." Again, I would argue the reason he is keeping those two names in the conversation is to both quell the fan base, keep us calm, right? And out of respect for what those two gentlemen have done for this franchise, both Yuli Gurriel and Justin Verlander, massive, massive pieces of this dynasty that has been built in Houston over the last 5-6 seasons. And I mean, look, as unconventional as this whole thing has seemed since the firing of Click, the GM, it seems to be working. And I'm seeing interviews with guys like Jeff Bagwell, who seems to be highly involved in a lot of the at least maybe not from a decision-making standpoint, but from an advice, from a consultation standpoint, is spending a lot of time working things out with Jim Crane. I like it. I don't know what the hell to say other than that I like what's happening so far. And it doesn't seem to be impacting our ability to go grab guys that we don't have an official general manager at the moment. Extremely stoked about signing the 2020 AL MVP and José Abreu to play first base, strengthening the batting lineup even further. And we'll see, what else Jim Crane has in store for us as Astros fans between now and March, when the season opens. Today's episode is brought to you by MyBookie, our online sportsbook and casino sponsor here at Banging the Can. If you're looking for a place to get all the action you can handle this NFL season, to bet on the NBA, college football, golf, MMA, boxing, the World Cup, whatever, all your sports betting needs are taken care of at MyBookie.ag. They've got all the prop bets, live lines, alternate lines, and futures that you could possibly need. Plus the online casino with live roulette, blackjack, and more, which means you can actually see the person like dropping the ball onto the roulette wheel, or the blackjack dealer, it's just a lot of fun. And for a limited time only, join the MyBookie family using the code ROSS at checkout to support the show, ROSS, when you sign up at MyBookie.ag, and you will receive a deposit bonus instantly, giving you even more dough to throw at your favorite sporting event. Fade the Texans. That would be my advice. I'm putting my kids through school fading the Texans this season. Bet on the Astros to win the World Series again in 2023. Probably fade the Rockets, although fading in the NBA tends to be a little bit more difficult in my opinion. But the MyBookie website is awesome on desktop and mobile, incredibly easy to use, beautifully laid out. So what are you waiting for? Just use promo code ROSS, ROSS, at sign up to claim your bonus on MyBookie.ag today and lock in for the rest of this NFL season into the NFL playoffs. Bet on the Astros to win it all again next year. Enjoy the World Cup, man. Betting. Look, I'm not a soccer guy, but I freaking love the World Cup. It is so much fun, and obviously Team USA has made it through to the round of 16, the knockout stage, where we will be playing the Netherlands on Saturday, and you can bet your bupkis I'll be wagering on that one. MyBookie.ag, code ROSS to unlock that deposit bonus and support the show. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere with MyBookie. Now it's time to talk Texans, who benched Davis the Neck Mills in favor of Kyle Allen against the Miami Dolphins this past weekend. Once again lost in embarrassing fashion. We went down 30-0 to Miami in the first half. All right? And that's really the only thing you need to remember about this game, okay? Because all the bullshit that happened in the second half, it might as well have been considered garbage time, all right? So a bunch of garbage time nonsense that resulted in a 30-15 final score made it look a lot better than it actually was if you watched the game. This team remains almost shockingly lost. The investment in Davis Mills appears to be lost as well. The season remains lost. I am not currently aware of a single person that is actually excited to see the Houston Texans make another number one pick. It's a dog shit franchise. We just end up wasting talent. I can't tell you how many people I've had tell me like, "Oh my God, I've got the Texans running back. What the fuck? Why can't they get him the ball?" We stink. If you have anybody on this team in your fantasy league, you're pissed off. Just as much as the Houston Texans fans are watching every game. And if you're still watching every game from front to back, you're some kind of a masochist or a sadist or whichever one it is. You like the pain. And that's fine. I get it. I respect it. I used to do it. I can't handle it anymore. Not the whole game. I watch a little bit. I get a feel. I come back for the highlights after it's all said and done because I don't need 3 hours of hating myself stacked on top of all the hours of hating myself that I'm already doing each week. That's just not necessary. Sunday is like a positive day. It's a holy day. It should be held sacred. It's the start of the week, and you don't want to start your week with the Houston Texans sucking ass over and over and over and over and over and over. I don't know how many times I can say this, but yeah, Kyle Allen, man. That's who they ran out there at quarterback, and he went 26 of 39 for 215 yards, 1 touchdown, and 2 interceptions, which is, it's like the most classic Texans quarterback stat line you can imagine. Largely uninspiring, as is tradition for Houston Texans quarterbacks. Sad. Very unfair. Speaking of Texans quarterbacks, this weekend, Sunday at noon, the Texans welcome the Cleveland Browns to NRG Stadium for Deshaun Watson's first game as a Brown, his first game back after his 11-game suspension. I still, for the life of me, cannot understand how they allowed his first game back to be against the team he set back 10 years by being a sexual predator and forcing his way out to Cleveland. But then again, the more I think about it, it's got to be about money, right? The NFL being the NFL, it has to be about money. Goodell and company know this will be the most watched game in Texans history. With all manner of NFL teams tuning in to see Deshaun Watson's return, a huge number of Texans fans who would otherwise not watch tuning in to unload their hatred and anger at their televisions, which is where I'm at, this is probably the only game this year I will watch every snap of. Because I'm curious to see not only how Deshaun performs, but how the stadium reacts to his presence, how the Browns react to his presence, how the Texans react to his presence. If any of our defensive players feel like getting a cheap shot in, which I'm not encouraging, but I'm saying wouldn't shock me in the least, he really did destroy the team. If you can't remember, and for some of you, so much has happened in the past few years, it's hard to remember this, but before Deshaun Watson, the problem for the Texans was always we couldn't get over the hump. We've had so many talented players over the years. Hall of Fame guys, J.J. Watt, Arian Foster, Andre Johnson, DeAndre Hopkins, all of their careers in Houston completely wasted by mediocrity in the pocket. Not having a quarterback has been the Achilles heel of this franchise since its inception when they took David Carr, who endured like 14 sacks a game over the course of his career. And it is once again our problem because of this man, Deshaun Watson. He was the guy. We finally landed a guy that was no doubt a top 3, top 5, easily quarterback in the NFL, gave us a real shot to build around him and maybe even make it to something like an AFC championship. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that this team could go to a Super Bowl no matter who's holding the football, but he gave us the best chance we've ever had. And then he was too horny to handle it. And then he forced his way out to Cleveland. And I'm not saying the franchise is blameless here. This is part of the reason I dog on the Texans so bad. They clearly mishandled Deshaun. They clearly enabled him in some ways. They've been brought up in all these lawsuits that are taking place for a reason. But this is the guy that really and truly, for lack of a better term, fucked us all as Texans fans. He really, really threw us under. I mean, he destroyed what little momentum we had in the sad existence of this pathetic franchise, it's gone. And it's gone. I mean, we barely got to enjoy it before it was destroyed. So I'm tuning in to boo his ass through my screen. I'm not going to the stadium. I'm nothing. I'm not sure an invite from Cal McNair himself into the owner's box could not get me to drive to Houston and attend a Texans game right now. It's just not worth it. The misery and suffering and embarrassment is not worth it. But I will watch this one front to back because I want to see what happens. This is a good storyline from a fan perspective. Not a good storyline. Let me rephrase that. It's a terrible storyline that is as interesting as it's going to get in terms of Houston Texans football in the year of our Lord 2022. And I think we all know that. All right? Like Dameon Pierce is a good running back that people are upset isn't getting playing time. That isn't getting enough action because we suck so hard. That's the only other thing anyone can talk about. Kyle Allen replacing Davis Mills is not interesting to anyone. Anyone. Not even I don't even care. No, I barely even noticed. Because Davis Mills has, again, as I said last time, regressed this season somehow. Whether it's a matter of coaching or talent, the guy's not it. Doesn't appear to be it. Now, I don't think Kyle Allen is necessarily it either. I don't know that we'll ever have it again. Or if we ever did in Deshaun. And the beginning of that question will start to get answered this weekend. I mean, look, this is a dude who looked like he was ready to be right there with Patrick Mahomes, with the Bills quarterback, whose name is currently slipping my mind because I have too many names running through my head. But, I mean, that's where Deshaun Watson was. Josh Allen, excuse me, Josh, for the disrespect. Josh Allen. He looked like he was going to be one of the top quarterbacks in the league for the next 10 years. And then all of this shitstorm unfolded where he was accused by, God, I don't even remember the number of women at this point, of basically sexual assault or versions of sexual harassment, or in some cases worse. It's a total disaster from a fan standpoint. And probably the most complicated Houston sports story ever, because it's like, as I've said many times, difficult to even discuss, because you're also talking about human beings who were put through, allegedly, some extremely traumatic, fucked up shit by this dude. Speaking of which, 10 of his accusers, Deshaun Watson's accusers, plan to attend the Browns-Texans game on Sunday. Okay? He's serving an 11-game suspension for allegations of more than 20 instances of sexual misconduct during massage therapy sessions, and that's just the ones that the NFL is counting, right? Nearly all of them have been, I'm doing air quotes here, resolved in some fashion, but 10 of the women, which I believe Tony Busby may be rolling with them, their attorney, are showing up to the game to make a statement to say, we're still here, we matter, our voice was heard, and this is not something that's over. Sexual assault and harassment happen every day in the United States, is the quote from Busby. All but one of those lawsuits filed by Tony Busby have been settled. Another lawsuit was filed by a different lawyer earlier in the 2022 season. Watson has not met with reporters at all. That's supposed to be happening almost as I speak today. And as you've maybe noticed so far, he's done an absolutely horrific job of handling this on every possible level. Denying that he did anything wrong. Be interesting to see if today he takes a different approach, but it's been a shitstorm, a total mess, and yeah, very powerful statement by those 10 women to show up to the game. I think Busby should fly them to wherever each Browns game is the remainder of the season and have them in the front row with signage and such. That's just my personal feeling. I fucking hate this guy. He's the worst. He's the worst. There were signs when he was early on, like a rookie, where I was just, like, I'd watch his Instagram live and I was just like, I don't know about this shit, son. And I remember he came into Austin at one point and he stayed with who was like a former friend of mine, or still technically, I guess, a friend, but Mia Khalifa, some of you may know that name. He stayed with her, like, in her apartment, and I remember being like, what? He's like, what? And I think it was before the draft. We ended up picking him. That kind of became an afterthought, but in hindsight, Deshaun horny and has serious issues, and it's just going to be interesting to see where it goes from here. So, enough about the Texans and the trash franchise. Let's close on a positive note, shall we? The University of Houston Cougars, #1 sitting atop the Associated Press top 25 in college basketball for the first time in nearly 4 decades, your number 1 ranked Houston Cougs. I am absolutely a bandwagon Cougars fan, probably as of last year officially, because I have no college loyalty, having attended Texas State University. We were totally irrelevant in terms of football and basketball. We've had a couple good baseball teams, but I don't know. I'm not a college baseball fan as much as I am a baseball fan. I don't have time for that shit. So I am very happy for all the Cougs fans out there. It's pretty awesome. Great quote from Coach Kelvin Sampson. He said, "I certainly don't think we're the best team in the country because we're a work in progress. But you know what? I'm happy for our fans. I'm really happy for our fan base. They've been through some tough decades with our basketball program." And I love that from Coach because it keeps your guys motivated and humble, right? That ranking doesn't mean shit. Especially, I mean, it doesn't. It doesn't mean shit where we're at. Like you gotta get to March Madness before any of this really matters. And then even then, you've got to make it to the Final Four. You've got to give yourself a shot at an actual championship. So looking forward to watching the Cougs in March, and hope they continue to be as good as they've been so far this season for the remainder of it. Congratulations, Houston Cougars fans. I know y'all are very stoked. And frankly, it's just nice to have something else positive in the Houston sports world going on, considering the Texans and Rockets are just ridiculous right now. The Rockets' social media on Instagram celebrating a 2-game win streak almost made me like depressed for an entire day. But yeah, hit Bolen Media, BOLEN media.com/shop to grab yourself some Banging the Can merch. Go to bolenmedia.com to check out all my other brands. This is my small business that I run out of Austin, Texas, Bolen Media. We have 3 full-time employees, including myself. My wife does all of our ad sales. I've been in this game for 11 years, about to be 12 years in January, working in online media and content and entertainment and podcasting since like 2016, I think. So it'll be year 7 of that for me. I love it. I really enjoy doing this for a living. The more y'all can support us, the more appreciative I'll be. bolenmedia.com. And follow us everywhere on social media. We're at Banging the Can on TikTok with over 25,000 followers already. We're at Banging the Can on Instagram and Twitter as well, where I try to do a little bit of content every weekend on all those platforms. Particularly on TikTok, we spit out clips from this show. If you ever miss an episode, you can catch the clips there on TikTok. Make sure you support our sponsors each and every week. We have lots of different ones. Lately, MyBookie has been really carrying the load. MyBookie.ag, code Ross to activate that deposit bonus when you get in there. If you're betting on sports and you want to bet on sports somewhere that supports this podcast and a Houston sports podcast in specific, that's the place to do it. MyBookie.ag, code Ross. I am Ross Bolen. I will be back next week to talk about Texans-Browns and the Deshaun Watson shit show. We'll see how it goes. I'll give some updates on the Rockets and, of course, cover anything the Astros do between now and then. So until next time, remember, hold on to this thought. The Astros just won the fucking World Series, okay? That's your happy thought, like Peter Pan for every day to help you fly. Just hold on to that happy thought and everything will be okay. And as always, H-Town, stay down.